Have you ever checked your bank balance, and for a split second you do that mental math like, okay, salary comes in Friday, rent goes out Monday, credit card bill is due Wednesday. Yeah, I'm technically broke, but not broke. You open your banking app. Your balance is low. Your credit card has a number on it you don't really like looking at. Your loan, student loan, personal loan, EMI, it's just sitting there quietly judging you. And you think, okay, I'm in debt. That sucks, but at least I know who I owe. A bank, a lender, some company with a logo. Now zoom out, way out, because countries, entire countries, are in the exact same position. The United States is in debt. India is in debt. Japan is deeply in debt. Almost every country on earth is in debt. And here's the question that should bother you a little more than it probably does. If every country is in debt, who exactly are they all owing money to? Because it can't be aliens. It can't be some secret island of trillionaires. And it definitely can't just be future generations, the way politicians casually say it. So, who's the creditor? Here's the thing. Once you understand this, you'll never look at money, savings, taxes, or national debt the same way again. My name is Max, and I spend way too much time thinking about every country is in debt, but who is the creditor? If you're someone who worries about money, feels like the system is rigged, or keeps hearing scary headlines about debt, inflation, and economic collapse, but no one ever explains it clearly, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're breaking this down from first principles. No economics degree required. No fancy jargon, just logic, math, and psychology. And yes, this affects your personal finances more than you think. Look, most people hear national debt and immediately imagine it like household debt. Like, if I owe money, someone else must be owed money. Fair assumption. But here's what most people don't realize. Government debt does not work like personal debt. Not even close. If you max out your credit card, the bank can charge interest, ruin your credit score, take you to court, or take your assets. If a country maxes out its debt, none of that happens. The US has been maxed out for decades. Japan's debt is over 260% of its GDP. That's like earning 10 lakh a year and owing 26 lakh. And yet Japan hasn't collapsed. People still get paid. Trains still run on time. Life goes on. So clearly, we're dealing with a completely different kind of debt. According to the IMF, global government debt is over $92 trillion. The US alone owes more than $34 trillion. India owes roughly 180 lakh crore rupees. Japan owes over $9 trillion. That's not monopoly money. That's real. And debt is always someone else's asset. So who owns it? Here's what most people don't realize. A massive portion of government debt is owed to its own people. Pension funds, insurance companies, banks, mutual funds, and everyday citizens. Ever heard of government bonds? Treasury bills? G-Secs? That's government debt. When you buy one, you are literally lending money to your government. So if you have a retirement account, a pension, or even a conservative debt fund, congratulations, you're a creditor. This is where it gets really interesting. When governments say, we owe a lot of money, they're often talking about money owed to people like you. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Max, but what about China? Doesn't China own everyone? Short answer, no. China owns government bonds. So does Japan. So do oil exporting countries. But foreign countries own less than 1/3 of US debt. China owns around $800 billion. Sounds huge, until you realize total US debt is over $34 trillion. That's not control, that's mutual dependence. Because if China dumped those bonds, they'd destroy the value of their own assets. Now let's talk about the creditor nobody talks about, central banks. The Federal Reserve, the Reserve Bank of India, the Bank of Japan. These institutions buy massive amounts of government debt, and they do it by creating money digitally, out of thin air. Imagine owing money to yourself. You write an IOU, put it in your pocket. Nothing really changes. That's how modern government debt actually works. So why does this still scare people? Psychology. Humans fear big numbers. We hate uncertainty, and politicians know this. They say, we're leaving debt for our children. Sounds terrifying, but here's the truth. Future generations inherit the debt and the assets, the roads, the schools, the technology, the economy. Debt used for consumption is dangerous. Debt used for investment is powerful. Same rule applies to your personal life. Here's a simple example. If a government borrows $1 trillion and uses it to grow the economy, and GDP grows faster than the debt burden actually shrinks. That's why the real metric isn't total debt. It's debt relative to economic output. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Government debt is paid through inflation, taxes, and currency devaluation. Inflation is the silent tax. If inflation is 6% and your savings earn 3%, you're losing purchasing power, which is why blindly saving cash long-term is risky. So what should you do? Stop fearing headlines, understand incentives, own productive assets, and position yourself intelligently inside the system. Because here's the bottom line. Every country is in debt, but the creditor is usually its own citizens, its own institutions, and its own central bank. The real danger isn't debt. The real danger is not understanding how the game works. If this helped you see money more clearly, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. Because the goal isn't to fear the system. The goal is to win inside it.